Okay, what I want to look at today is using Kami to allow you, the teacher, to be the reader for your students who struggle with reading. It isn't always possible to have a human right there to read for your kids. And so I'm going to use an old PAT exam as my example here for how you would do this yourself to avoid the hassle of having to try to find people to read for your kiddos. So if you notice here, it's already a PDF file, so there's nothing I need to do in that regard. I'm just going to right click on it and I'm going to choose Open with Kami. And that's going to open that PDF test in Kami so that I can do some of the reading. Now the way I'm going to do this is by using the commenting feature. So you see I do have an old achievement test here, and I could split and merge the document so I could get rid of some of these pages using that tool, but that's not what we're dealing with right now. So I'm going to leave that be, and we're going to scroll down to the very first page here where we have a source. Now, what I'd like to do is I would like to read these segments for my kids, but I'm going to do it piece by piece. So I'm going to go over here to the commenting tools. I've got the voice comment right there, and then you'll see I've got a color palette, which at first glance seems a little strange, but it's going to make sense. So to start with, I'm going to use this blue color. I'm going to highlight this text up here, and as soon as I release this, Kami is going to start recording my voice. You're going to see over here on the side, you're going to see a little pop-up appear, and you'll note that it is recording as I read. The narrator and his friend Raymond are in the northern wilderness during the winter. They are now returning to their cabin with the carcass of a moose tied onto a toboggan. They spot something unusual by their cabin. Okay, I press the stop button there. You'll see that I've got audio waves there if I want to test it. It's working. I have my volume turned way down, so you maybe weren't able to hear that, but it has definitely worked. So now I want to read the first paragraph. I could choose to read this as well if I wanted to, but I'm going to just keep this tutorial moving along. So now we're going to take yellow, and I'm going to highlight the first paragraph. And again, you're going to see another one of those little pop-outs on the right-hand side. Winter bear, Raymond said, his voice hushed and awed. The length and width of the tracks had my heart beating like thunder. My first thought was that we had no shells left for the rifle. I looked between the trees, expecting at any moment to see the monster that made the tracks. What's a winter bear? I whispered. Polar bear? Okay, so now we have two that are red, and I'll just do a third one so you can see how easily this jumps around. So we'll choose purple this time. Grizzly, he said quietly, looking over his shoulder. Probably a big male from the size of these prints. Okay, so they go on there in sequential order, but now if a student has this in front of them, when they come and they highlight over here, you'll note to the right that the one that is tied to it has a space to write a reply. That helps the student identify which audio file correlates with this highlighted piece. Obviously they go in order, but it is helpful that you know that whichever one I am hovering over is going to show write a reply over there to the right-hand side. Equally, if I come over here and I hover, it shows which one on the document, it changes it to kind of a gray color. So it's pretty easy for kids to figure out which one they need to listen to. And if I do it in little segments, it makes it easy enough for them to go back and try and find the answer they're looking for without having to struggle through fast forwarding and rewinding, to use some of our old school terminology. So the bottom line is that Kami is really valuable for you as a teacher as well, to be able to be the reader for your kids. From a pedagogical standpoint, it's ideal when it can be the teacher reading it, mainly because it's the same voice that taught the content. And so you're able to put a little bit of emphasis on certain words, maybe draw their attention to a couple things, or issue the hints and reminders that would also go hand in hand with the IPP of a particular student. It's up to you and your professional judgment how you handle this, but it's another tool in your tool belt.